Hi, Grace chatting here, and today I want to address the neurodivergent community, and I want to talk about neuroplasticity and the neurodivergent brain and the rewiring potential and how we need to reclaim our power. So in this, when I was diagnosed with ADHD in my 70s, so it was about 5 years ago now, and I sat across from the psychiatrist. It was on Zoom, but I sat across from a lovely, lovely man in Harley Street. I checked out all his credentials to make sure he wasn't some flaky person, a fully qualified psychiatrist, and I thought it was really, really good and connected very well with him. And we had a general conversation about, do I really need to have this assessment? I can accept, I've seemed to have all the signs and symptoms of ADHD. And do I really need an assessment to tell me that? And what use is an assessment? And assuming the assessment comes out that it's a diagnosis of ADHD, that so what? I've lived these many decades with it. What difference is it going to make? So they were the sort of questions I was asking. And then I said, and you know, because I've been a psychotherapist for a number of decades now as well, about 30 years, and all the training and personal development world. And I said to him, well, what about neuroplasticity and our brain's capacity to change and become enhanced? And I'm saying, well, you can't tell me it's just neurotypical brains that have neuroplasticity and that the neurodivergent community, their brains don't. And he did say to me that probably all the training and I've done many courses in personal training and brain training over the years had probably modified and enhanced my brain circuitry. So, but that lit up inside me, and I'm so glad, by the way, that I did have the assessment, and because I realized soon how ignorant I was about all the different aspects of ADHD and just the name itself, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I had never really questioned that. And note the words deficit and disorder, which are pathologizing really. But, you know, we just take things on board and don't really challenge or question them. So that's where I was. When I talk about neurodivergent brains, by the way, I'm talking about the ADHD, the dyslexic, the directional dyslexic, which is me. I came to realize it's a thing. And, you know, dyscalculia and a number of dyspraxia, all the disses, and came to realize, you know, they're different, not broken. By the way, I was subsequently diagnosed as autistic as well. So, well, in fact, I was diagnosed as autistic first and then ADHD. So both of those things, and it's been a fascinating journey for me to learn about this and see all the things that I just normalized and just thought that I was a bit eccentric. But I've come to understand myself and a lot of my clients that I see, and I see that there is a narrative that's been out there. In another life, I was a social worker with children and families, but the people who were autistic or in any way neurodivergent were hived off to a separate team all to themselves. So your average social worker had just a nodding acquaintance with, um, you know, the finer points and details of neurodiversity. And I would say it was the same for teachers and the same for the medical profession. And the all the professionals have very, very little training and very, very little awareness about what's involved in neurodivergence. And the world has been pretty exclusive of that whole bunch of people. Many of us, myself included, managed to get on and have a reasonably successful life. But I can tell you, it was with much more difficulty than neurotypical people for whom the education system is made to fit the neurotypical brain. But I digress, which is one of the things I do. What I want to say really is that neurodivergent brains, so including all those different categories, you're not broken. And the neurodivergent brains I've come to discover are beautifully dynamic. Um, I would constantly criticize myself and judge myself because I wasn't thinking in a systematic, linear way and doing one thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. And I mean, I have paid good money to people to try to get me to think that way, and I could never do it. And I see now I can celebrate being able to, I don't just write a memoir, I'm writing a trilogy. And what's more, I'm writing the 3 books all at once. And it's wonderful. And I allow my brain to be beautifully dynamic, because our kind of brains do respond powerfully to the right kind of attention. And the message here in this video is a call to raise awareness, to shift the narrative away from deficit, away from disorder, from deficit to difference, and from difference to deliberate power. I can tell you, when you accept it, get to know it, and learn how to work with it and go with it, it is powerful. And neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, it's not only a childhood thing, it's a lifelong capacity. And I have been doing it in my 70s. And for the neurodivergent brain, neuroplasticity means enhancing what is already extraordinary. So for the minute, let's just talk ADHD. These brains are different. I can tell you they definitely are. Yes, and I used to hide it because I seemed so out of step with other people and like a bit weird and a bit strange. But yeah, different, yes. But that's a detour through the land of creativity and energy and innovation. Most of the technological advances in the world have been made on the backs of neurodivergent people. And studies show that ADHD brains can grow, expand, regulate, and thrive. We adapt. We can adapt. We do adapt. And we can build tools that suit the brilliance of how our brains actually work. So for me, you'll see that I feel quite passionate about this. If I was talking to you about something that I don't have a strong interest in, and that is, like how to do spreadsheets, you'd find that I would be dull and matter of fact. And yet, somebody who does feel passionate about spreadsheets can make it sound exciting. But for me, passion is the portal for me. And when I'm interested in something, I am 10 out of 10 interested in it. I might even be 12 out of 10 interested in it. And that's where hyperfocus comes in. I will suss out every detail on a topic that I am interested in. So I can be driven by that interest and not the routine of it. There's a number of ways that the ADHD brain can be adapted to enhance that brain, and that's by making the invisible visible. Um, so the use of some technology, for example, for me, who gets lost routinely. I've lived in Plymouth for over 50 years, and even just last week, I was picking my granddaughter up, and well, I was dropping her off actually, and then I thought, oh, well, we're moving house. I'll go and have a look at some furniture shop. And I spent nearly an hour getting lost, driving around the city to get to a shop that I know very well and have been to many times over the years, and I will still get lost. I get lost in airports, car parks. I spend an amazing amount of time trying to find where have I parked the car. I wander from terminal to terminal in airports, and I just routinely get lost. I came to understand that that is known as directional dyslexia. And wow, what a revelation that it was a thing. I've been doing it all my life. I've learned that I can learn things better if there's play in it, if there's movement in it. Um, if I'm allowed to work in cycles, like doing the trilogy, doing the 3 books at once, and not, I can hear a neurotypical linear thinking voice in my brain saying, well, why don't you finish that bit, Grace? And when you get that one finished and get that all wrapped up, then you can move on to the other one. And when you get that done, then you can do the other one. My brain doesn't work that way. I can't focus on that one because I keep thinking of that one and that one. And when I let myself off the hook and accept it's okay for me to do the 3 books at once, and I can do it, and it's amazing, and I can be recursive about it. And my brain works in cycles, and the ADHD brain works in cycles, not straight lines. And it's social and relational. Body doubling, having another person who's maybe writing as well, but they're getting on with their writing, I'm getting on with my writing, but somehow just checking in at the beginning and checking in after an hour is just knowing that there is a frequency between us, a writing frequency, and there's a supportive frequency because we are all energy and we resonate, and we learn to get into a state of coherence with ourselves, not bending ourselves out of shape, but accepting our different way of working. And in that state and frequency of self-acceptance, be with another person who is also in a state of resonance and coherence with themselves. And there is no geography and energy. So you watching this can share the resonance of what I'm saying. And it's social and relational and not transactional. So, and that makes a difference. So the message in this video is all of us, we must change the story. We must change the narrative that neurodivergent brains are not broken, they're not in deficit, they're not deficient, they're not, they're okay. They just are different, that's all. And, not only that, and here is the other bit, the ADHD brain it's a brain style, and it's a powerful brain style. And we have to change this narrative and change the perception of neurodivergence. And here are some strengths that I see in ADHD minds, and I have been able to identify and enhance in myself. Creative thinking that breaks the mold. For many years, I did not see or think of myself as being creative, and that belief really blocked a lot of my creativity. because I had very neurotypical ideas of what creative was. But I am creative, and I allow myself to be creative in my way. Um, and I can have fierce, and the ADHD people, there's not a one size fits all, and we can have fierce empathy and emotional depth. And you can tell I am really passionate and I'm passion led, and we can get into the neurodivergent passion led productivity if we're passionate about what we're doing and we're not squeezed into a mold that we don't feel passionate about. And while I'm at it, I do a lot of work with couples, and working with couples for them to be in alignment with each other. So if we talk about love, when you adapt your mindfulness or brain training together, if you're in a couple relationship, and you both look at whether you're neurotypical with a neurodivergent person or a couple with, two different brands of neurodivergence, something magical happens. You start co-evolving. You start thriving together. It is magical. But many couples are oppositional and they knock heads and they just rub each other the wrong way. When you look at it through a co-evolving lens, which means smoothing the edges out, not to make you both the same, but to create a better way of thriving together and accepting the difference. And in the kind of framing it that way, you create mindful daily rituals. You would see in my room, I have a huge whiteboard that I use. Now, I write a lot of things on the whiteboard so that I will remember them, because I have a very poor working memory. And I'm smiling to myself because, unfortunately, although I write the things on the board, sometimes I forget to look at the board. And that's part of it too. And I can laugh at myself now in a self-accepting way. So all of this turns neurodiversity into a crucible for intimacy and transformation. If, as a couple, you can be, drop the masks, be open, be accepting of your difference from the neurotypical population, but even with each other. And I would say to the older neurodivergent adult, it's not too late. And that is something that I've learned. I was tending to be dismissive of it. To the couple who are listening, I would say about neurodivergence, that there is another way from what you've learned. And mainly what I want to say to all of you, you're not broken and you're not alone. And we have to be in alignment with each other to change the narrative out there in society. So let's celebrate our strengths and let's adapt the tools. Let's raise the volume on our brilliance. Yes, some people might hear that and think, well, she's narcissistic. No, it is brilliant. It is brilliance. It is brilliance. And it's being truthful and honest and not false. And so, with fierce compassion and passion, I'm going to end this, and I would love to know your thoughts. So if you find this interesting, useful, or beneficial in any way, please click like and subscribe, and leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Bye for now. Bye.